Joining me today is not only the brilliant writer of Time Magazine's 100 Best Fantasy Books of All Times, but she is also a designer and an illustrator. Isabel Ibanez, welcome to The Middle. Thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Me too. And I absolutely loved Woven in Moonlight. This book has everything. There's politics, there's love, there's magic, there's food. So first, let's start with a brief summary of this for those who have not read it. And then I do want to talk about the new book too, but let's start with this one.
Well, thank you so much for reading. That means a lot to me. So Woven in Moonlight is about a dico y condesa, which means countess in Spanish. And she infiltrates this corrupt government. And while she's there, she starts having some tough conversations where she realizes maybe she doesn't have all of the information that she thought she did. And she also sends coded messages back to the rebels through her weaving. So it's got politics, like you said, and a dash of romance and secret identities. And yeah, it's just a really fun book.
It is. It's so entertaining. I loved every second of it. And I watched an interview with you where you were talking about how the setting is inspired by the Bolivian political climate. So talk to me about why that was important for you to write about.
Yeah, I think for me, it was a way to process what was happening in Bolivia. I grew up going to Bolivia. My whole family's there. We have a home there. And my mom, for both my parents who are Bolivians, they did not want me to lose any kind of culture because they made the choice to have my brother and I here. And so I would go to Bolivia growing up. Ever since I was a baby to I was 18, my mom would send me for 3 months out of the year. It was like no summers in the United States ever. The first time I got to celebrate the 4th of July on American soil was when I went to college because I was always in Bolivia. Mm-hmm. So going there and visiting there, I was very aware of what was happening and seeing the impact on my family members, seeing their confusion and fear, especially as surrounding countries in South America started to have really scary outcomes and a loss of identity and culture and mass exodus. You should look at Venezuela and how that country has really struggled. So a lot of people were just really, really nervous. And so my family would go out on the streets and they would protest. My parents, because they live half the year there. And so for me, I couldn't be there. And I wasn't with my cousins holding up signs and banners. And so writing Woven in Moonlight to me felt like my own kind of banner of protest, a way to process, a way to understand, and then also ask some really tough questions because the Bolivian politic and the climate is very complicated and it's nuanced and it can't just be boiled down between right and wrong. There's a lot going on. So I wanted to kind of work through those questions. And I felt like the book really helped me understand some of my own thought process.
That's so interesting. It was almost like therapy for you to write it, but also it's interesting that it's raising awareness, but through a fiction story, which is very cool. So how did your cousins and your family in Bolivia react to the book?
It was so interesting. So much support. And this was my debut and they loved that I wrote about a Bolivian character, which you don't see in YA. And so they loved that. There was some fear for me too, though, because Woven in Moonlight went on and it's gone to do really well, much to the general surprise, I think, of me and everyone, and which has been wonderful. But a lot of my family have kind of asked me, like, do you feel safe going back there as it's gotten more popular? And we're planning this trip to Bolivia in April, and I'm super nervous, So it's been overwhelmingly positive and awesome and wonderful. But at the same time, it's also been, oh, okay, well, here we go,
That's so interesting. So are you going with your family? Or are you going with your husband?
Yeah, my husband and I are planning on going. My cousin is getting married in Colombia. And so I haven't been to Bolivia for like 3 years, I think. So it's time to go.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
So here we go.
Oh my gosh, you have to let me know how it is.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Reading the book and then reading your story, I feel like you are such an inspiration to women everywhere. But honestly, it makes me tear up when I think about how proud your parents must feel when they see everything that you've already accomplished and are, I'm sure, going to continue doing. So I guess for a second, talk to me about how your parents have inspired you and your journey.
Yeah, my parents are incredible people, super driven, and they came to this country. My mom was 17 when she came here, and my dad was born and raised in the Amazon. And so, from at a very young age, he knew that he like had a passion. He wanted to be a doctor, and seriously, like when it came down to picking where to go and where to live, he didn't speak any English, and so he rolled out a map of the United States and closed his eyes and dropped a finger, and it landed in Detroit. And my dad, Bolivia is, oh, I know. So he's like, Detroit sounds like a magical place, so that's where I'm gonna go. So, my dad, yeah, like he had Bolivia's an inland country, so he hadn't seen the ocean. He'd never seen snow, and so he came here. He taught himself English by watching Sesame Street, and they both have worked really, really, really hard. But one of the things that I have always been super grateful is my parents never balked at the idea of me saying, I want to be a writer. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, awesome. My mom kept all of my journals and little stories. And when the day that I got married, she handed me a box, and it was every story, drawing, illustration that I'd done. And she handed me this enormous box filled with, I mean, just all of my scribblings. And so they always, always supported my dream of writing. They never pushed me to do anything sensible, or, you know, just said, no, this is what you want to do. And they've always had a belief in me that's been really moving.
So it's like truly like you are like the epitome of the American dream, you and your family. Like that's so, I can't even imagine, like they must look at everything you're doing and it's so lovely. I love that.
Thank you. You know, one of the things that it made me think of is they grew up very differently than I did. And growing up, they were so afraid that I was going to lose like my heritage, my ancestry. And looking back, it could not have been easy raising a daughter in a foreign country, and sometimes who did not speak your language. Because my parents, their English is good, but they would, you know, I far surpassed them, and Spanish was my first language. And then, and my mom, I'll never forget this. She told me, I knew that I lost you to Spanish when I would go up to your bedroom and hear you playing in English. And
how about that?
Yeah. So it could not have been easy for them. And so for the culmination of all of that, and for my first book to be about Bolivia, and it's a way to honor them and my upbringing. So
it's amazing. Okay, so talk to me more about how you kind of wove in, not to play on the title, but you have, you know, there's a mix of Spanish and English in the novel. There's a mix of, there's so much Bolivian food, and you have this food glossary. So, you know, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really recognize that for a lot of people, reading about a Bolivian heroine was probably going to be the first time. And I felt not pressure, but I felt this excitement and just this really wanting to make sure that what I was introducing about Bolivia was just my favorite things and the joy of Bolivia. So yes, it's set amongst a very hard political backdrop. However, there is so much to Bolivia that's beautiful and whimsical and vibrant, and the food is totally delicious. And you don't see a lot of Bolivian restaurants here. So
I'm in New York. I don't see that many Bolivian restaurants. So if you have recommendations, please let me know.
We're going to talk. It's called Bolivian Llama Party. You need
okay, great.
So I really felt this degree of responsibility, and also not pressure again, but I was very mindful of what I was doing, because I knew that for a lot of people this would be a kind of introduction to Bolivia. And I had so much fun with it. I really did. I put everything that I grew up eating and talking, and And for me, food is such an important thing because I feel like you can really get to know a country when you what's served on the table, and you interact with the foods, and people are preparing something for you. So that felt super important to me.
No, it makes you super hungry, but it's so good. Okay, so I can't let you go without congratulating you on the next book.
Thank you.
Which I am so excited to read. So this is not a sequel though. This is just set in the same world, correct?
Yes. So it's a companion. And so it features and it follows a character that was in Woven in Moonlight. And now this character is the main character. And really, like, I had fun writing this because it's dedicated to my father, and it's his stories about growing up in the jungle. And there's Quechua in it, and my grandfather is fluent in Quechua, so he helped me with some of the language too. And it's about a character who is in the Bolivian Amazon, a jungle inspired by the Bolivian Amazon, and she can't boil water. She is not a fighter. She is just kind of what I imagine I would be like in the Amazon.
I was gonna say, sounds like what I would be like.
Yeah, like she doesn't like, she's not. She has restraints, of course, and she's good at other things, but her survival in this, she really is tested quite a bit. And there's romance in it, and then they go searching for this lost city, which is my dad, when he was growing up, he would hear these stories about a lost city in the Bolivian Amazon, and there was this explorer who went looking for it in 1997, and he went in and he never came back out. And so I've always been like, oh, so I just had a lot of fun with this one.
When you started writing this, had you already gotten the praise and the success from Woven in Moonlight?
No. So
okay.
I didn't really. We got some early reviews of Woven in Moonlight, and then my publisher was interested in continuing the story and having another story set in that world. And so I'm very grateful though that I didn't have and I didn't know what was going to happen, because I think that I would have struggled a little bit more writing.
Really? You think it would made it more difficult?
Yeah.
Why? Because you think more eyes are on it, or why?
Well, because I'm a people pleaser, recovering people pleaser. And so disappointing and wanting to make sure that I hit the same metrics. I would have put a lot of pressure on myself, and so I don't know how well or not well written Starlight is going to do, but I'm glad I wrote it in a place where I felt pretty insulated.
Well, judging from the last book, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And I'm excited to see what's next. So you are, I mentioned before, you also are an illustrator. Are you going to continue down the writing path, or are you going to dabble in a little bit of everything?
Oh, I went to school for creative writing, and I tried to get published right out of college, and it didn't go well. And so I took a detour, and I was a greeting card designer for 7 years, which was, like so fun. And so but my real love is
what you're doing. Did you do the illustrations for the covers?
Yes, both of them. I did.
I didn't know that. They are so pretty. That was my yes. I was gonna compliment you on them.
Yes.
So you can judge this book by its cover. And if people want to find you, what's your Instagram handle? I'll put it up.
It's Isabel Writer 09.
I'm so excited for everything. Congratulations again on all of your success. And it was so lovely to meet you.
It was so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Thank you.